Michael, it's good to finally meet you. It's good to meet you too, Sam. Let's get down to business. I've heard rumors from all over the country about how you were a spy in the Hitler Youth. Yes? What are your questions? Well, one, who is all involved? Who are my characters for the news? If you want to know my story, you need to know my family. We are from Ireland, but we moved to Germany because my dad was the Irish ambassador to Germany. My mom was a professional spy in the US. She and my dad were co-workers, spy co-workers, and they fell in love and got married. When did you find out your parents were spies, and what was your reaction? The night of broken glass. Remember that night where Nazi Germany has murdered so many Jews? Was when my parents decided to tell me. I was shocked, but wanted to make them proud, so I tried to hide my emotions. Instead, I planned to help them. Ah, the night of broken glass. Then you must have been in Berlin. How did you get through everyday life? Yes, it was a bad time, because there was a nightly bombing run. Every day was so intense. With the bombings, going to Hitler's Youth, and keeping secrets, it was all hard. You mentioned Hitler's Youth. Why were you a part of that group? At that age, 14, I was forced to go to Hitler's Youth. It was the perfect opportunity to do spy work anyway. Did you have any friends through this all? Well, one, kinda. It was the pilot, Simon. He was my friend. My parents kept Simon in their house after his plane was shot down during a bombing raid. Also, I pretended that a kid named Fritz was my friend after I found that he had important information about Project 1065, the blueprint to an important Nazi jet plane, which at the time was a new invention. Tell me more about Fritz. Fritz was short, skinny, and socially awkward. The biggest kids made fun of him a lot, and every now and then he tried to talk to me, even though I'd talk to no one. Then, one day, I protected him while he was being bullied. Bullied. That must happen a lot in the Hitler Youth. Yes. The next day, he kept coming up to me and talking about how I saved his life, and eventually we became friends. After he told me about his dad being the main engineer of Project 1065, I started sneaking around his house to find the plans and memorize them, and give them to my parents and to Simon, so he could redraw them. Did you ever grow to actually like Fritz, or were you just faking it? At one time, I thought he was my friend because he showed me his American mystery novels that he'd hidden away because he knew I would like them. But when he became one of Hitler's biggest supporters and burned those books, I knew everything had changed. How did Fritz become one of Hitler's biggest supporters? Well, he joined the Science Club. What is that? The Science Club was a group of 5 kids with a plan to kill the Allied scientist who was inventing the A-bomb. It was really hard to get in the Science Club, but I knew that the A-bomb was important for the Allied victory. Then how did you get it? First, there had to be a spot, so I injured a kid so bad that he had to drop out. Then, in order to be selected to fill his spot, I had to turn in my parents for hiding a Jew. It was the worst day of my life. I knew that my work was important, but even though my parents got away, Simon was killed because of me. That must have been horrible. When I heard your story, it was clear that you were in a man versus man conflict with Fritz, but you were also in a man versus self conflict. How did you make your most difficult decision to turn Simon in? It was not easy, but I knew that Nazi cruelty was awful, and that if the world was taken over by them, many more people would be killed. Now that you were in the Science Club, what did you plan to do to stop the assassination plan? I pretended to be on their side and learned that they were going to travel to Switzerland on a fake field trip and that they were going to kill the scientist with the bomb. I pretended to be planting the bomb in order to get time alone with the scientist I wanted to protect. I used my gifts of persuasion to convince him that I was trying to save him. I took him on a ski lift to the mountains we were on. Good. But wait, Fritz figured out what we were doing. He jumped on the roof of the ski lift with the bomb. I had to stop him, so I pushed him off the side to his death. The bomb went off as he fell and created an avalanche, and me and the scientist barely made it out. But in the end, we did. Why are we only hearing this now, 2 years later? I had to keep the secret until the end of the war to protect everybody involved. This is a classic good versus evil story. After all of this, I feel like you showed me the importance of keeping a secret. You are truly a hero for stopping a murder and doing what was right, even when it was really hard.